It was a Thursday evening in early September, 3 weeks before what should have been the highlight of my year, our 10th wedding anniversary. I was sitting at the tiny kitchen table in our cozy flat in Canterbury, pottering over some reheated fish and chips that had lost their charm hours ago. Amanda, my wife, sat across from me, scrolling through her phone, her blonde hair cascading effortlessly over her shoulders, a strand tucked flirtatiously behind one ear. She wore a soft cream blouse, slightly unbuttoned at the collar, paired with a snug navy skirt that hugged her hips just right, and those sleek black ankle boots she loved. A delicate silver necklace caught the kitchen light as she twisted her fork in her salad, the same salad she'd barely touched. Without looking up, she said, "We need to move our anniversary plans." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "Yeah, the wine tour with the girls in the Cotswolds. It's the same weekend. They've already paid deposits," she explained, her tone flat but practiced, as if delivering a weather report. I set down my fork carefully, trying not to choke on the shock. The 10 years I'd been counting down to this moment. The dinner reservation at the Ivy, booked 6 months in advance. The weekend retreat to the Lake District with the lake view she dreamed about since forever. The tickets to see her favorite band at the O2 Arena. All of it, just pushed aside. "It's just a date," Amanda said, finally glancing up from her phone, her eyes cool and indifferent. "We can celebrate next weekend." I stared at her, really looked at her. The woman sitting before me, the one twisting her hair around her fork like this, was the most reasonable thing in the world. Wasn't the woman I married. The woman I married would be buzzing with excitement. She'd be thrilled with the effort I'd put in. She'd never pick a wine tasting over 10 years of us. "You're right," I said quietly, voice steadier than I felt. "One weekend won't matter." Her eyes flicked up, searching for resistance. None came. Relief softened her features. "I knew you'd understand," she said, smiling briefly, leaning across the table to kiss my cheek, barely touching, as if she'd rather be back on her phone. Her thumbs flew across the screen, eagerly texting her wine club. I watched her grin at their replies, a little burst of joy lighting her face with every buzz. For quick messages. For little validations. What Amanda didn't know, what she couldn't possibly guess as she texted away, was that I'd started making my own calculations, not just for next weekend but further ahead. 2 months earlier, Amanda had joined a group called the Vineyard Vixens through a local Facebook page. At first, it seemed harmless. A monthly wine tasting at a local pub, meeting neighbors, learning about Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. I'd even encouraged it. She said she needed more friends, more life outside work and us. But the tastings grew into weekend trips. Late nights stretched past midnight. Girls' nights bled into mornings. And somewhere in the shift, I started living with a stranger. Their leader was Victoria, a sharp, magnetic woman in her late 30s, twice divorced. Amanda said those were escapes from toxic marriages. Victoria had this way of speaking that made reckless freedom sound like enlightenment. She preached independence like sermons, pulling women into her orbit with talk of living authentically and breaking free. There was Candace, who was seeing a colleague. Amanda refused to say if he was single. Heather, engaged for the 3rd time, all stories of men who couldn't handle her independence. Morgan, whose soldier husband was deployed abroad, but who spent lonely nights at bars chasing validation. These were the women giving Amanda advice. These were the voices shaping her. The warning signs piled up, little things I could have ignored alone but not together. Amanda coming home at 11 on weeknights, avoiding questions, phone calls taken outside in the cold, privacy suddenly paramount. Her passcode changed. The phone flipped face down at the slightest notification. Then the money. An £800 charge for wine club activities in 1 month. When I asked, she snapped, "I'm investing in friendships. Women need community. Why is that so hard to understand? £800 a month. That's not community. That's a lifestyle." She told me, "I'm not lying. I'm just not reporting to you like a child. I'm an adult woman with a social life." The phrase stuck with me. Not Amanda's usual words, but echoes of Victoria's voice. I never said you needed permission. I said I cared. That used to mean partnership. She rolled her eyes and walked away. That's when I started paying attention. One night, she left her phone unlocked while she showered. I'm not proud, but I saw a message from Victoria. Did he give you grief? Men hate when we have lives of our own. Stay strong, sister. The next day, I scrolled through the Vineyard Vixen's private Facebook group on her tablet. Posts like a manual for marriage sabotage. Train your husband to respect boundaries, Victoria preached. Candace bragged about a secret affair. Heather posted bitter tales of failed fiancés. Morgan's late-night bar photos reeking of loneliness and desperation. Then, a post a week before our anniversary. Anniversaries or birthdays? Planning an epic weekend in the Cotswolds. Girl time over obligation time. Who's with me? Amanda's comment, count me in. My 10th is that weekend, but this sounds way more fun. He'll understand. I took screenshots. Every post. Every comment. Every betrayal. When Amanda finally raised the subject again, I was ready. So, I need to talk about our anniversary, she said nervously.
I'm listening.
The wine club's planned this amazing tour. It's our anniversary weekend. You want to reschedule? Not cancel. Next weekend. It's about supporting what makes me happy. I nodded slowly. You're right. Your happiness matters. Her smile was the same I'd fallen for. But now it was for a freedom that left me behind. Friday morning dawned gray and drizzly. The kind of morning that makes you question your life choices while staring bleary-eyed into a chipped mug of tea. I stood in the hallway of our Canterbury flat, watching Amanda buzz around like a teenager getting ready for prom night. She was dressed in a sleek burgundy wrap dress that hugged her curves just right, the fabric shimmering softly under the low light. Her heels clicked sharply on the wooden floor as she packed and repacked her new leather suitcase. Pristine and expensive, the kind of luggage that screamed, I'm off on a glamorous adventure, and you're not invited. Her nails were freshly painted a deep wine red, matching the dress perfectly, and the delicate gold bracelet on her wrist caught the light every time she moved. She smiled, a little too brightly, and showed me the itinerary on her phone. Weekend winery tours, spa treatments, fancy dinners. £850 per person, she said, like it was no big deal. Just a bit of investing in herself, as she put it. I nodded, keeping the tightness out of my voice. Sounds unforgettable. She caught my eye and grinned, that same smile I'd fallen for 10 years ago. Except now it was pointed firmly away from me. I'll be fine here, I said, trying to sound reassuring. We'll make it up next weekend. Oh, you're okay with that? She asked, pausing mid-pack. I want you to do exactly what makes you happy, I said, voice steady. Her expression flickered, surprise, maybe relief, before she turned back to her preparations, humming softly like she was already miles away from this flat, from me. At 2 p.m., Victoria pulled up outside in a sleek black Range Rover, tinted windows gleaming despite the drizzle. The other 3 women were already inside, laughter and music spilling out as Amanda slid into the back seat. Her perfume, something floral with a hint of vanilla, wafted through the open door as she leaned forward to kiss my cheek. Love you, she said, her breath warm against my skin. See you Sunday night, I murmured. Have the time of your life, she smiled, already turning back to the group chat buzzing on her phone. Victoria leaned out the window, eyes sharp and gleaming. Don't worry, we'll take good care of her. I waved, trying to match her enthusiasm. Counting on it. As the Range Rover disappeared down the street, my phone buzzed. An email reminder from Roland Pierce, my solicitor, confirming our appointment later that afternoon. I swallowed hard and headed out, the weight of what was about to come crashing down on me. Roland's office overlooked the gray waters of the Thames, the city's hum a distant murmur below. He greeted me with a firm handshake, his eyes scanning the thick folder I'd brought. The evidence, the screenshots, the timeline of change. He nodded, impressed. This is extraordinarily thorough, he said, leafing through pages. I handed over the printouts from the Vineyard Vixens group. She chose her friends over 10 years of marriage, I said quietly. Roland didn't flinch. In no-fault divorce cases, this kind of documentation carries weight. You've prepared well. We discussed the process, costs, and timeline. Contested divorces can get messy, he warned. But with this evidence, I doubt she'll contest. I signed the preliminary documents, heart pounding as I thought about Amanda, somewhere miles away, laughing with women who had quietly chipped away at our life. Back home, the flat felt emptier than ever. I started packing her things into boxes, her dresses, shoes, the delicate scarves she collected, every item a whisper of the woman I thought I knew. At 6:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. Just checked into the hotel. It's gorgeous. Then, at 7:23, an Instagram story appeared. 4 women raising glasses at a hotel bar. The caption, "Anniversary weekend? More like girl adversary weekend." I screenshotted it and sent it to Roland. Another message followed. "Victoria just ordered us champagne. So much fun already." I replied, "Enjoy every moment." The night bled on with more photos. Laughter, wine glasses clinking. Amanda's arm draped casually around Victoria's shoulders. A caption read, "To new traditions and leaving old obligations behind." I stared at the screen, numb. I took off my wedding ring, placed it carefully in an envelope with a note. "You won't need this anymore." I set it on the kitchen counter beside the boxes. Outside, rain tapped softly against the window, as if mourning with me. Saturday morning arrived with a pale, hesitant sunlight filtering through the curtains, casting soft shadows across the living room. I sat on the worn leather sofa, a steaming mug of coffee in hand, scrolling through Amanda's social media updates with a sinking feeling. The Vineyard Vixens were in full swing. An 11 a.m. post showed the 4 women standing shoulder to shoulder at the first winery, Chateau Ashford. Amanda wore a fitted white blouse, sleeves rolled up just enough to reveal a slender silver watch glinting on her wrist. Her dark jeans hugged her legs, and those knee-high tan boots she'd insisted were perfect for a day in the country completed the look, effortless yet inviting. The rest of the group matched her energy, clad in their signature Vineyard Vixens t-shirts, bold black letters on crisp white fabric. The caption read, "10 years married and finally doing what I want." Victoria's comment followed instantly, "About time, darling." Candace chimed in with a cheeky, "Living your best life," while Heather added, "This is what freedom looks like." I felt the sting of betrayal like a cold wind biting through my skin. As I packed more of Amanda's belongings, her silk scarves, the delicate crystal earrings she wore on special occasions, the framed photo of us on the beach in Cornwall, I noticed a pattern emerging. Everything I touched seemed to whisper stories of the life we'd built, now unraveling thread by thread. By early afternoon, I'd booked a moving company and reserved a storage unit on High Street, trying to impose some order on the chaos. I categorized everything meticulously. Hers, mine, shared. Each item a silent testimony. At 2:30 p.m., a video popped up on Amanda's Instagram story. She was swaying slightly, a wine glass in hand, laughter spilling from her lips. Victoria's voice came from behind the camera, urging, "Tell everyone what you're celebrating." Amanda's words were slurred but proud. Freedom. Freedom from expectations. The background echoed with cheers. I saved the video and sent it to Roland, attaching a note, "Additional evidence." Later, I removed Amanda's name from our joint credit cards, changed passwords on all shared accounts, and updated my emergency contacts. The cold efficiency was a shield against the heartbreak. At 5 p.m., another photo surfaced. Amanda at the third vineyard, her left hand raised with her wine glass. Her wedding ring was conspicuously absent. The caption read, "Love the ball and chain at home. JK or MI?" Comments flooded in. Her Aunt Jean asked, "Where's your ring, love?" Amanda replied, "Taking a break from expectations." I forwarded the screenshot to Roland and texted my brother. "Is the guest room still available?" "Always," came the quick response. As the evening drew in, the posts grew more extravagant. Photos from their dinner at the Fox and Hound, the table laden with half-empty wine bottles, the women dressed to the nines. Amanda in a deep emerald dress that hugged her figure, the kind of neckline that left just enough to the imagination but hinted at something bolder beneath. Her hair was styled in loose waves, cascading over one shoulder. Lips painted a daring red that contrasted with her pale skin. Victoria sat beside her, arm casually draped around Amanda's waist, both smiling like queens ruling a kingdom of wine and freedom. Amanda's caption read, "Best anniversary dinner ever. Who says you need a husband to celebrate love? These queens are all I need." Victoria's comment was sharp and triumphant. "Screenshot this energy. This is growth." At 8:30 p.m., my phone rang. Amanda's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated, then answered. "Hey," I said cautiously. Her voice was thick with drink. "Just wanted to check in. Having so much fun. You should see this place. Maybe next year we can come here for our anniversary," I suggested quietly. "Maybe," she slurred. "You're not mad, right?" "You sound weird," I said. "I'm not mad. I'm clear." "Clear about what?" "About what I need to do." "Enjoy your dinner," I said, voice steady. "Love you. Goodbye, Amanda." I hung up before she could respond, the finality hanging heavy in the silence. Later that night, the Instagram stories continued. Laughter, dancing, men appearing in the background. Victoria's voice rang out. "Guess what, ladies? The universe provides." The camera panned to show 3 men joining their table. Amanda giggled, accepting a drink from one, her laughter a bittersweet soundtrack to my unraveling world. At 11:30, the last post of the evening appeared. A photo of Amanda leaning into one of the men, his arm around her shoulders, wine glass in hand. The caption, "Sometimes the best nights are the unexpected ones." I switched off my phone, loaded the last box into my truck, and left the house key on the kitchen counter. On the table, I placed the envelope containing my wedding ring, a letter I'd written, and copies of every piece of evidence. The note, simple and sharp. "Read everything. Then call your attorney. You'll need one." I closed the door behind me, the lock clicking with a finality that echoed in the empty rooms. Outside, the night whispered secrets through the rustling leaves, and I drove to my brother's house, the weight of loss settling deep in my chest. Sunday unfolded in a heavy silence, the kind that wraps around you like a thick fog, dulling everything except the pounding in your chest. I kept my phone off all morning, unwilling to face the storm of messages I knew awaited me. Amanda would be driving home from her weekend of freedom, probably hungover, maybe still basking in the glow of her new tribe. I pictured her pulling into our driveway, the Range Rover's sleek black frame casting long shadows in the afternoon sun. I imagined her unlocking the door, stepping inside our flat, our home, and calling out my name, her voice echoing off empty walls. Instead, I was at my brother's kitchen table, nursing a bitter cup of coffee, the hum of the city outside a sharp contrast to the turmoil within. When I finally powered my phone back on, 35 missed calls blinked at me. Voicemails spilled from Amanda's trembling voice, first confused, then angry, then desperate. The last was just broken sobs, barely coherent. Texts flooded in, "This is insane. You can't be serious. Call me right now. We need to talk. You're overreacting. It was just a weekend with friends. Please answer me."
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Don't do this. Please. I love you. At 1:15 p.m., my phone rang again. Amanda's name flashed on the screen. Before I could answer, my brother's voice cut through. "He's here." I frowned. "Who's here?" She called. "Asked to talk to you." I put her on speaker. Amanda's voice was raw, desperate. "Where are you? I need to talk." "I don't think he wants to talk right now," my brother said firmly. "This is crazy," she said, voice rising. "It was just a girls' weekend on your 10th anniversary. No ring, with another man's arm around you. How did he find out?" "That was innocent," Amanda said quickly. "We were just having fun." "Maybe you should have had fun with your husband," my brother shot back. "Please, just let me talk to him. He's done talking. You'll hear from his attorney tomorrow." The call ended abruptly. I stared at the phone, heart pounding. 30 minutes later, another call came in. Victoria. I didn't answer. Then Candace. Heather. One by one I blocked them all. Through Amanda's tablet, still linked to her accounts, I watched the Vineyard Vixens group chat unravel. Amanda had typed, I need help. My husband filed for divorce. Candace replied, What? Why? Amanda, because of this weekend. Heather, that's psychotic. Morgan, he can't divorce you for taking a trip. Amanda, he has screenshots of everything we posted. A long pause. Then Victoria, girls, maybe we should take this offline. Amanda, Victoria, you said this was normal. You said I deserved this. Victoria, I didn't tell you to take off your ring. Amanda, you literally toasted to leaving obligations behind. Candace, did something happen with that guy at the bar? Amanda, no, but there are photos. Heather, listen. Amanda, this is your marriage. We can't be responsible for your choices. Morgan, we encouraged fun, not to blow up your life. One by one, they left the conversation. Victoria first, then Candace, Heather, and Morgan. Leaving Amanda alone in the chat she'd once treasured more than her marriage. Monday morning at 9 a.m., the process server arrived at our flat. Amanda answered in a bathrobe, eyes red-rimmed, hair tousled. A woman who had barely slept. Amanda Harrison, the server said, handing her the envelope. You've been served. Her hands shook as she opened it. Official divorce papers, court date 60 days away. Grounds, irreconcilable differences, abandonment of marital obligations. Attached were her own Instagram posts, exhibits in the case against her. She called 3 law firms. Each quoted a £5,000 retainer minimum. One asked gently, were you accurately represented in your social media posts? Yes, but I didn't mean. Intentions don't matter, the voice said. Documentation does. She couldn't afford any of them. Her call to her parents ended in disappointment. You did what? On your anniversary? Her mother asked, voice sharp. Her father was blunt. He planned 6 months ahead, and you canceled for wine tasting? It was more than that. Was it? Because it sounds like you chose your friends over your husband, and posted about it publicly. Within a week, the Vineyard Vixens imploded. Candace's affair was exposed. She lost her job. Morgan's husband returned early, saw the posts, and filed for separation. The military community turned its back on her. Victoria's married boyfriend's wife found their texts. Victoria faced her 3rd divorce, this time as the other woman. Heather announced her 4th engagement, but the comments were brutal. 6 weeks later, we sat across from each other in Roland's office for mediation. Amanda looked broken. Weight lost, dark circles under her eyes, unable to meet my gaze. Her court-appointed solicitor reviewed the settlement. This is fair. More than fair. You're lucky, he told her quietly. With this evidence, he could have pushed for more. I spoke for the first time. I don't want to destroy you. I just want freedom from someone who didn't value what we had. Amanda's tears fell. I know. I destroyed it. Yes, you did. Can I explain?
No.
You made your choices clear. Posted them for everyone to see. It was a mistake. A choice. Multiple choices. The settlement was simple. House sold, proceeds split equally. Savings divided. She kept her car, no alimony. Retirement accounts separated. Furniture divided fairly. Trembling, she signed. I'm so sorry. I know you are now. Outside, the sky wept softly, as if mourning the end of what once was. 6 weeks later, we found ourselves standing in the austere courtroom of Canterbury Family Court. The air was thick with a quiet tension, the kind that makes every whispered word feel like a verdict. Amanda sat across from me, her posture rigid, eyes fixed on the polished wood of the judge's bench. The months of pain, betrayal, and shattered trust had taken their toll. Her cheeks hollowed, strands of her once lustrous hair tucked behind ears that no longer held the sparkle of confidence. The judge, a stern woman in her 50s with sharp spectacles perched on the bridge of her nose, glanced over the papers before her. Any last statements? she asked, her tone both professional and final. Amanda shook her head, lips pressed tight. I remained silent, the weight of the moment settling heavily on my shoulders. Divorce granted. Marriage dissolved. The judge declared, her gavel striking with a definitive thud. 10 years of marriage undone in barely 3 minutes. Stepping outside into the cold autumn air, the chill seemed to seep into my bones. Amanda caught up to me by the courthouse steps, her voice hesitant, fragile. Can we talk, please? We have nothing left to say, I replied softly. She looked down, fingers fidgeting with the hem of her coat. I need you to know. They're all gone. The friends. Victoria won't return my calls. I'm completely alone. You chose to be, I said quietly. No, I didn't choose this. Yes, you did, I said, my voice steady but heavy. You chose it when you posted about celebrating freedom from me, when you took off your ring, when you let another man put his arm around you, when you picked wine over a decade of partnership. Her eyes glistened with tears. I would do anything to take it back. I know, I said, but you can't. That's how choices work. Do you hate me? She whispered.
No, Ian suarat firmly.
I feel sorry for you. You had something real and traded it for Instagram likes from people who vanished the moment it got hard. What am I supposed to do now? Whatever you want. That was the freedom you wanted. Remember, the silence between us stretched, filled with regret and the ghosts of what could have been. 3 months later, I settled into my new apartment in Queen and, smaller, but with a view of the city skyline that I'd always admired. The place was furnished exactly as I liked. Minimalist, clean lines, a splash of muted blues and grays. Felt like a fresh start. It was a Friday evening when my phone rang. A date for tomorrow. Coffee? I said yes, feeling lighter than I had in years. Curiosity nudged me to check social media one last time. Victoria's page was private now. Candace was unemployed, posting vague inspirational quotes. Heather's engagement showed cracks in her posts. Morgan was fighting a custody battle, asking for donations to her legal fund. Amanda's page had a single post from 2 months ago, a photo of a modest flat in a quieter part of town. The caption read, "Starting over, learning who I am without the noise. Some lessons cost more than others." Comments were disabled. I closed my phone and glanced at the calendar on the fridge. Today's date was circled. It would have been our 11th anniversary. Instead, it marked the day I chose self-respect over settling. The doorbell rang. My date was here. I opened the door and stepped forward. I didn't look back. The evening air outside my new apartment in Queen and was crisp, carrying the faint scent of rain and city lights. I opened the door to find Emma standing there. A warm smile playing on her lips, eyes bright with a mix of curiosity and kindness. She wore a simple yet elegant navy dress that fell just above the knee, paired with soft leather ankle boots perfect for a stroll through the city. A delicate silver pendant rested lightly against her collarbone, catching the porch light as she stepped inside. "Thanks for inviting me over," she said, her voice smooth and genuine. "Glad you could make it," I replied, stepping aside to let her in. Inside, the apartment was modest but inviting. A blend of soft grays and deep blues, shelves lined with books and a few framed photos of friends and family. The kitchen smelled faintly of rosemary and garlic. I was making dinner. Pan-seared salmon with roasted vegetables. A simple meal but one I'd taken care to prepare. As Emma settled onto the couch, she kicked off her boots and stretched out her legs, a playful glint in her eye. "You cook." "Only when I'm trying to impress someone," I joked. She laughed, a light, melodic sound that filled the room. "Well, consider me impressed already." We talked for hours about everything and nothing. Her stories of growing up in a small town near Brighton, her job as a graphic designer, the books she loved. I shared snippets of my life, careful to keep the darker parts tucked away for now. There was a quiet ease between us, a tentative connection that felt like the first tentative roots of something new. At one point, she reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair behind my ear. The simple touch sent a warmth through me I hadn't felt in a long time. Later, as the night deepened, she slipped off her jacket, revealing a soft cream blouse that hinted at curves hidden beneath. Her skirt rode just high enough to suggest confidence without revealing too much, and the faint scent of lavender lingered as she moved closer. "I'm glad you invited me," she whispered, her breath warm against my cheek. "Me too," I said softly. But beneath the comfort, a flicker of doubt lingered. Could I really let someone new in after all this? After the wreckage of the last year? As Emma leaned in, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. We both froze. I opened the door to find a courier holding a small, unmarked package. No return address, just my name scrawled in neat handwriting. I closed the door and tore it open. Inside was a single photograph, faded around the edges but unmistakable. It showed Amanda, standing alone in a dimly lit wine cellar, her face unreadable. But behind her, among the shadows, was Victoria, watching her with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. A note was tucked beneath the photo, written in the same script. Asterisk, some ties don't break as easily as you think. Asterisk. Emma looked over my shoulder, eyes narrowing. What do you think it means? I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the past creeping back. Looks like the Vineyard Vixens aren't finished with me yet. The next morning dawned gray and overcast, the kind of morning that presses down on your chest like a heavy blanket. I sat at the kitchen table, the photograph lying face up before me like a silent accusation. Amanda in that shadowed wine cellar, Victoria lurking behind her with that knowing, cruel smile. The note. Asterisk, some ties don't break as easily as you think. Asterisk. Felt like a challenge. Emma poured 2 cups of coffee, setting one in front of me with a concerned glance. You sure you want to get involved with this again? I looked up, meeting her steady gaze. I thought I was done, but maybe some things need to be faced, not buried. She nodded, sliding into the seat beside me. Whatever you need, I'm here. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of resolve. If the Vineyard Vixens had tried to tear me down once, I wasn't going to let them have the final word. I spent the day digging back through the archives, screenshots, messages, old emails, anything that might shed light on what Amanda and that group were really up to. But there was something new this time. Subtle hints, coded messages hidden between the lines, references to a secret meeting in a place called the Old Mill just outside Canterbury. Curious, I reached out to an old friend from university, James, a private investigator turned tech consultant. James was sharp, with a knack for uncovering what people wanted to keep hidden. We met at a small cafe on St. Margaret Street, the kind of place where the barista greeted regulars by name and the scent of fresh pastries filled the air. Vineyard Vixens, huh? James said, sipping his espresso. Sounds like a soap opera. Tell me about it? I muttered, pulling out my phone to show him the photo and the note. He studied it, brow furrowed. Looks like someone's sending a message. You think it's a warning or a threat? I shrugged. Maybe both. James leaned back, eyes gleaming with that familiar spark. If you want answers, you're going to have to get closer. Find out what's really going on at that old mill. I frowned. That's where they have their meetings? From what I've gathered, yes. It's an old, converted barn, now a private event space. Not exactly public knowledge. And you think Amanda still goes there? Hard to say. But if Victoria's involved, it's definitely not just wine tasting. The idea of stepping back into that world made my stomach knot. But I knew I couldn't ignore it. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the city skyline, I found myself driving toward the outskirts of Canterbury, the old mill looming ahead, a weathered stone building surrounded by gnarled trees and creeping ivy. The parking lot was nearly empty, but as I approached, muffled laughter and clinking glasses drifted through the cracked wooden door left ajar. I slipped inside, heart pounding. The room was dimly lit, candles flickering against exposed beams. A circle of women sat around a large oak table, glasses of wine in hand, faces illuminated by the golden glow. At the center sat Victoria, radiant and commanding, her eyes locking onto mine with a predator's gleam. Amanda was there too, pale, distant, but unmistakably present. Victoria smiled, raising her glass. "Welcome back, James. Or should I say, Robert?" The room fell silent. I swallowed hard. My name wasn't Robert. Victoria's smile deepened. "We've been expecting you." The room seemed to close in around me, the flickering candlelight casting long shadows that danced like ghosts along the cracked stone walls of the old mill's vaulted cellar. Victoria's eyes gleamed with a mixture of amusement and something darker. Calculation, perhaps. Amanda sat stiffly beside her, the soft cream blouse replaced by a loose, pale gray sweater that hung off one shoulder, exposing the delicate curve of her collarbone. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, strands escaping to frame her face, which was pale but resolute. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "My name's not Robert," I said, voice steady despite the surge of adrenaline. Victoria's laughter was soft but sharp. "Of course you're not, but you play the part well." She gestured to the women seated around the table, each a study in contrasts. Confident, alluring, dangerous. Candace, dressed in a sleek black dress that clung to her like a second skin, sipped her wine with a knowing smile. Heather's fiery red hair tumbled over a plunging neckline, her emerald eyes locked on me. Morgan sat quietly, her military haircut stark against the soft lace of her blouse. Victoria leaned forward, her fingers entwined on the table. "You've been asking questions, poking around where you shouldn't. That's brave or foolish?" I met her gaze. "I want to understand. Why the lies? The secrets? What happened to Amanda?" A slow smile curved her lips. "Amanda chose, just as you did." Amanda's eyes flicked to mine. No anger, no pleading, just a quiet acceptance. Victoria's voice dropped, conspiratorial. "We offer freedom here. Freedom from expectations, from obligations. A sisterhood where women reclaim their power." I shook my head. "At the cost of everything else." Candace's laugh rang out, light and cruel. "You think you understand, but you don't. This is about breaking chains, about living." Heather added, voice low and sharp, "You don't get to decide what she needs anymore." Morgan's gaze softened as she spoke. "We've all lost something, but here we've found strength." I looked at Amanda again, searching for the woman I'd known. The one beneath the layers of wine, late nights, and whispered secrets. She met my eyes, a flicker of something unspoken passing between us. Victoria stood abruptly, the candlelight catching the sharp angles of her face. "You're here now. You can walk away, or you can stay and see how deep the rabbit hole goes." The others murmured their agreement, eyes gleaming with a mix of challenge and invitation. I took a breath, the weight of choice pressing down. "I'm not leaving without answers." Amanda's voice was barely a whisper. "Be careful. Not everything is what it seems." Victoria smiled, a slow, knowing curve. "Welcome to the sisterhood." The door creaked shut behind me. Outside, the wind howled through the trees, carrying secrets I was only beginning to uncover. The candlelight flickered as the room settled into an expectant silence, the air thick with unspoken truths and hidden intentions. Victoria's sharp gaze never wavered from mine, her presence commanding every corner of the old mill's cellar. The other women leaned in, their faces a mix of curiosity, defiance, and something eerily like camaraderie. Amanda shifted slightly, her eyes reflecting a flicker of vulnerability I hadn't seen in months. She reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair behind her ear, revealing the faintest trace of a silver necklace, a delicate charm shaped like a key. It caught the light as she moved, a subtle symbol that seemed to whisper of secrets locked away. Victoria's voice cut through the silence. "You want answers? Fine. But beware. Truths here aren't always what they seem." She motioned to Candace, who stood gracefully, her black dress shimmering under the candlelight. "Candace, tell him about the initiation." Candace smiled, a slow, knowing smile that sent a chill down my spine. "It's not what you think. This sisterhood isn't just about wine and freedom. It's a ritual, a transformation, one that changes everything." Heather chimed in, her emerald eyes gleaming. "We leave behind old selves, old chains, old lives. Some find it liberating. Others, not so much. Morgan's quiet voice added, "It's not for everyone, but once you're in, there's no turning back." I swallowed hard, the weight of their words sinking in. And Amanda? Did she choose this freely? Amanda looked down, fingers curling tightly around the edge of her sweater. I thought I did. But sometimes, freedom comes with a price I wasn't ready to pay. Victoria's smile turned sharp. She's stronger now, more herself than ever before. I studied Amanda's face, searching for the woman beneath the shadows and smiles. There was a flicker of defiance, but also a hint of fear, like a bird trapped in a gilded cage. Victoria moved closer, her voice a whisper. "This sisterhood offers power, but it demands loyalty. You can't have one without the other." I felt a chill run down my spine. "And if I won't play by your rules?" Victoria's eyes flashed. "Then you're already an enemy." Amanda stood suddenly, the tension breaking as she crossed the room. "Enough," she said, voice steady but firm. "This isn't what I wanted." "Not really." The room shifted, the veneer of unity cracking. Candace's smile faltered. Heather's eyes narrowed. Morgan looked away. Victoria's gaze hardened. "You can leave, Amanda. But you'll never escape." Amanda met my eyes, a silent plea lingering there. "Be careful. They're not just drinking wine. They're weaving a web." I nodded, heart pounding. "I'm not afraid." But as I left the old mill that night, the wind whispering secrets through the trees, I knew the real battle was only just beginning. The days that followed were a blur of restless nights and uneasy mornings. The photograph, the note, the chilling visit to the old mill. It all twisted inside my mind like a storm I couldn't escape. Amanda's warning echoed in my ears. Asterisk, they're weaving a web. Asterisk, and now, I was tangling deeper with every step. Emma stayed close, her presence a steady anchor in the chaos. But even she sensed the shadow growing between us, the unspoken threat that loomed just beyond the edges of our new beginning. One evening, as rain hammered against the apartment windows, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Asterisk, you should have stayed away. Asterisk. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Before I could respond, my doorbell rang. Hesitant, I opened it to find a small package on the doorstep. No name, no return address. Inside was a single silver key, identical to the charm Amanda had worn, and a folded note. Asterisk, the past is never truly gone. Unlock the truth, or be trapped forever. Asterisk. A cold shiver ran down my spine. Determined, I returned to the old mill the next night, the key heavy in my pocket. The door creaked open before I even reached for the handle, as if inviting me in, or daring me to come. Inside, the familiar flicker of candlelight greeted me. But the room was empty, save for a single envelope resting on the oak table. I opened it to find a series of photographs. Secret meetings, whispered conversations, faces I recognized and some I didn't. At the center of it all was Victoria, orchestrating a carefully constructed facade. A final note lay beneath the photos. Asterisk, not everything is as it seems. Trust no one, especially not those closest to you. Asterisk. The weight of betrayal settled deeper than before. As I stepped back into the night, the rain had stopped, leaving the world washed clean but far from safe. Behind me a shadow moved, and a voice whispered, chilling and familiar, "Welcome back." The door slammed shut. The web was closing, and the real story was just beginning.